Good evening, my AKAPADers. Let's put up this post by Tom Scioli, a individual I consider to be a enthusiastic, well-formed comic book creator. I personally love his Transformers, G.I. Joe. I think it's such a banger book. For all of his work and a lot of his mainstream work, I love how he pours his ideas. It's almost like if you read a Tom Scioli book, you get all of his ideas. Like there's very little cut out, and if there is, that publisher can use it for a special edition or a hardback or a deluxe. And it's just like the ideas keep coming with this guy. That's something I admire. I personally love about him. This is something I don't. To self-insert yourself in a Marvel Cinematic Universe Fantastic Four movie and somehow pretend that the director, number one, should be reading a illustrated Wikipedia article. That's what grain designs are. Like all of them. The Hulk grain design, X-Men grain design, Fantastic Four grain design. I'm long on record. I don't understand the appeal of these books. I don't know what the draw is. Pun intended there, I guess. I don't understand what they are. To me, they're just these very cheap Cliff Note versions of hundreds of comic book issues. Reading Fantastic Four grain design, if I can even say it, doesn't replace reading the actual issues, aka the gospel. What he's saying here, and I get it, maybe we have proof that the director went to a comic book shop somewhere and walked out. Underneath his arm had Fantastic Four grain design. Why is this good? Why we would want our director to read the Mike Waringo, Mark Waid run, the Walt Simonson run, the first 100 issues of Kirby and Stan Lee. We want him to read the Matt Fraction work. We want him to. It's like, you guys follow me? It's not. It's not a good thing if this is what the director is choosing, because Tom wants to imply it that the director is using this for the movie. Now, the director, whatever their name is, they also have and I'm spitballing here. They have the resources of the Marvel comic book archives. They have the resources of the Walt Disney archives. They have the resources of individuals, executives, a room full of writers that have been actively on the Marvel Cinematic Universe since that sucker popped. You got Kevin Feige, who probably is the greatest studio head of our time. I know Phase 4 has, and everything else has slid since Phase 4. But at the same time, Kevin Feige, when he speaks about the positioning of a lot of these properties, these services, services, I mean the Disney Plus stuff, the positioning around it is usually sound. Now, the execution, the way things come out, that's just Hollywood production. Sometimes things turn out great, sometimes they don't. We learned that lesson with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? I mean, we got so spoiled with that first 10 years. But at the same time, to self-insert yourself and really pretend that you're a part of this movie that it's such a focal point, and there's so much reliant. I mean, we can really say the absolute future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is reliant on a successful Fantastic Four movie, a comic book property whose shell is impossible to crack, because the Fantastic Four, just out of the nature, it's very hard to adapt. It really is. The ideas, who Reed Richards is, what are they doing, why do they have a tower, where's the government during all of this, Reed's going to the negative zone, all of this stuff. It's not very mainstream, I'll say. And I think every interpretation we get along the way is going to be drastically different from the last until they get a interpretation for an adaptation that absolutely hits. With that said, this just seems silly. and it's him just screaming for you to run out and buy this book that is, again, I'll say it's a glorified Wikipedia article. Maybe I'm being a little too maybe you guys can let me know, maybe you agree with me, but at the end of the day, we want the guy directing the Fantastic Four movie to be reading everything but Fantastic Four grain design. That's my baseline.